Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. A few people have been asking me to go over the Auxbeam and exactly how to hook it up and what you can do with the fuses and stuff like that. So what we're going to do, you can see I got my switch panel down here. I can turn it on and off with my headlights. That's how I have mine hooked up. So again, it turns on with the auxiliary portion of your lights. When these are on auto, because the truck is off, obviously the lights are off. So it turns everything off. If you put it to auxiliary mode, it turns on the interior lights of your truck, and that is what will power up the lights. And then if you're wondering when it is dark and your headlights are on, so you can see the headlights of the truck are on, that is also the same as auxiliary mode for this thing. So again, it stays on. So for me, I've wired it this way because I don't really care if it's on during the day. But if it is a dusty area or whatever the case may be and we're driving around and I want it on, I don't have to have my headlights on. I can keep it on in auxiliary mode, which then you can see the lights are not on, but the power to the box is on. So then I can turn on the auxiliary lights, ditch lights, floodlights, whatever the heck you might have hooked up to this thing. You can turn them on. And again, driving around during the day, they're off. Then come nighttime, when the power to this thing fires up, your headlights are on auto, they'll come on. You have power, and when it's dark out, you're able to use it whenever the case may be. All right, now moving on to the box itself. I have the Auxbeam 6 switch panel. You've seen that inside the truck. This is what the box looks like. We'll get in there in a sec. Now, you don't necessarily have to use Auxbeam, but if you're new to this kind of stuff, I do recommend picking them up. Not only is the install super easy, but what they come with now is this guy. It comes with a separate circuit breaker. So you can see it says 60 amp in there. So basically how this works, just in a nutshell, is the battery power runs through one wire, goes into here, and then out this other side is the one that runs the power to the actual box. So not only if something happens in the box and something short circuits or goes haywire, or vice versa, maybe something goes on with your battery, something blows, whatever the case may be, it's going to trip this breaker instead of just frying everything. So if something happens to the battery and maybe it's got way too much power or whatever the case may be, and it starts shooting a load of power into the box, it's not going to fry all your expensive lighting or aftermarket stuff you have powered in that box, because this breaker will trip. So when this trips, it cuts all power off to that box. So not only is that good for if something was to malfunction, but it's also good is if you are wiring something to the box, this little plastic cover just pops off. You can actually trip this thing yourself, and now you don't have any power going to the box. You don't have to worry about shocking yourself, anything like that. You can cut the power, mess around with all your wiring and stuff you got in there. You don't have to worry about like short circuiting, like I said, wrecking anything, because this cuts off all the power. You don't have to worry about disconnecting it from the battery or anything like that. It's literally just pop it off, breaker shuts off, just like anything you would shut off in your house, and no power to the box. All right, now moving on to the box itself. Just has a little pin there. You push it and the cover comes right off. Nice thing again with the Auxbeam is under the lid they send you a couple extra fuses and a fuse puller, so you don't have to worry about having those if you're hooking anything up. And now, before we actually get into tapping into anything, if you come in here, another nice thing is it's all labeled. So you can see positive and negative on each. Hopefully you can read that. You got 1, 2, all the way up to 6 over here. Now, you can see I've got 4 wires going into this, 2 wires going into this, and 1 wire going into 3. So, a quick little rundown. The 4 are my ditch lights. So you got a light on that side, you got a light on this side. So a positive, negative for each. Of course, you want them to run off the same switch. So you got 2 wires going into 1. Spot number 2 is my light bar on the front. What it has is it has the light bar function, obviously. You turn it on, that's what I got hooked up to number 2. Then you can see this green wire is hooked up just into a positive, but it doesn't have a negative with it. What this light has is a backlight feature. So basically, the green wire controls the backlight, the white positive wire controls the entire light bar, and then black is negative for both. So because I have the black into the negative, if something was to happen with the backlight portion, that negative is also controlled for both. So backlighting and the regular lighting. And again, say eventually I get 6 things on this truck and I need that space for number 3, I can eliminate the backlight feature, just pull that wire out, cap it off, whatever, and then you don't have to have it plugged in to run the rest of it because the white and the black are still in. So you got positive and negative to the light bar, and this is kind of like an extra accessory for that light bar. So again, you don't have to have them all together. You can take that one out, but as long as you got the 2 regular ones in, that one is good to go. Now, as for the fuses themselves, when you get to this point, from what I understand, now I do that this way, it's never wrecked anything, it's never not worked. The 30 amp fuses are different than 20 and below. So 30 amp, you have to stay 30 or below. You can't go higher, you can't switch anything into the spots. You can go lower, you can put a 20 over there if you want, but it's different than 20 and below. So what I mean is if you have the 8 switch panel, I believe it's 30, 20, a 15 and a 10, or possibly a 10 and a 5, I can't remember, for your fuses. These from 20 amp and down, so right now we only have 2 spots, or 4 spots, sorry. If you have the 8, you would have 2 more over here. For the 20 amp, you can switch them around if you want. So if you have something that maybe only takes 5 amp of power, but you want it in spot number 3 here, you can pull the 20 out, you can pull the 5 out, which would be over here, swap them, and everything will run fine. But you cannot put a 30 amp fuse in the spots where the 20 and below are, because inside the relays and stuff are different. 30's got to stay where the 30s are. They can go down, like I said, maybe you got everything that runs on 20 amp fuses, you don't need a 30, you could pull them out and put a 20 in, that's not going to hurt it. But if you put a 30 amp fuse on this side, it will not work. Only other thing, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I never add to this. Yes, you can switch the 10 and the 20, so 20 could go here, 10 could go there, it'll still work. But what I don't do is take out the 10 and add an additional 20. So you'd have a 20, 20, and a 20, because then the overall box itself is built to control whatever amount of amperage is in here. So again, if you have a 20, and now these 2 are 20, but you were to add another one here, you're over the amperage of what the box is built to handle. So you can swap them around because you're not adding anything, you're just moving which one is which. So that works, just don't add an extra amperage fuse to it. So again, 20, 10, if you have the 8, I believe you have a 5. So you can swap them all around, do that kind of thing, but don't go 20 across the board because you're going to fry the box. And then one last thing that's nice with the box, if you screw something up, now you can maybe see they got little dots underneath here. Those are actually lights. So say I plugged in my ditch lights here in spot 1 and something went crazy and it blew. You're pushing the button on the inside, it's not working, it's not coming on. You come under here, these are actually lights and it will be glowing red. So if it's glowing red, you know, okay, that 30 amp fuse is blown, pull it out, put a new fuse in. It'll either 1, fix the problem, the light will go out and your lights will work again, or 2, it'll blow right away and you're gonna know, okay, something under here that I did is wrong. But that's the nice thing with the fuses, they're there so you don't wreck what you're doing. The fuse blows, cuts the power, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Alright, and last but not least for this video is these AddAUses. A lot of people have been asking about the AddAUse. Now, these come in a few different sizes. There's the regular one, they make a mini, and they make a micro. So depending what vehicle you're driving, make sure you pick up the right ones because they will not fit if you have the wrong size. So they're built mostly the same. You can see they have 2 spots for fuses on the top. So for my specific truck, I'm not going to pull it all apart because this might not be the vehicle you're working on. But for mine, I have it hooked up to a 10 amp fuse because it's only wiring to the power for the light on the control box, like I said. So when I pull the 10 amp fuse out of the truck, I put it in the first spot closest to the prongs. Then what I do is I grab a second 10 amp fuse, and most of the time when you buy these, they come with a few fuses of each amperage, so you can choose which one you're going to use, and I put it in the second spot. So then when you have it plugged into the truck, you have your 10 amp fuse for whatever the fuse was controlling that you've pulled out, and then you've added another 10 amp fuse for the power that you're using the AddAUse for. So in my case right now, it's the power for the one red wire to control the box inside, and then I also have these Raptor lights hooked up to the same one. So you can add that on, and that's controlling that, and it's more than enough power to control it. Now, what you don't want to do is pull out a 10 amp fuse and replace it with, say, a 30 amp fuse, because the 10 amp fuse is set up to blow if it goes over 10 amps. But if you put in a 30 amp fuse and whatever you're hooked up to maybe has a problem, it's going haywire, it's not going to trip and blow the fuse, and you're going to wreck whatever you're plugged into the truck in. So basically, rule of thumb, I pull out a 10 amp fuse, I put a 10 amp fuse in and another 10 amp fuse behind it. So if something goes wrong, it's going to blow the fuse, it's not going to wreck your vehicle. So if you're doing this and you're worried about what fuse you're tapping into, honestly, with this truck, there's a lot that for some reason when the truck is off, the fuses still have power to them. So a lot of people are asking, well, how do I hook it up to something that turns off with the truck and turns on with the truck? Because if it's got constant power even when the truck's off, when you hook it up, say it's lighting or something, the lights are going to stay on. It's not going to shut off, and it's going to eventually drain your battery. So if you don't have the tools to test it, trial and error, pull out the fuse, like I said, put a 10 amp in, pull the fuse out, put another one in the front, plug it in, and go and test your truck. Test it out, see if it works. The nice thing with fuses, and now hopefully this will make you feel a little bit better about doing this, is the fuses are made to blow. So if you screw something up, you're not going to blow up something on your truck. You're not going to ruin the truck. The fuse is going to blow. It's going to do what it's built to do. And the nice thing with fuses is you can go on Amazon for like $10 and you can get a whole box of different sizes. They're super cheap. So you can blow these things up all day long if you want. You're not going to wreck anything. You're just going to have to replace fuses. So when you hook it up, trial and error, make sure you come back, check everything. What I recommend, now I got a little bit lucky because I'm in the garage here, I can turn off the lights, because for some newer vehicles, when your daytime running lights are on or your auxiliary after, like your nighttime lights are on, your headlights are on, sometimes your daylight running lights are on, it all messes with some of these things. So you may have it outside in the nice sunny day, turn your truck on, everything works nice, everything looks good. But as soon as nighttime comes, something might trip on and it's actually going to be on. Maybe your lights stay on, maybe whatever. You got a compressor or whatever hooked on. It might start firing up and it won't shut off. So keep in mind, make sure you test it in the light and in the dark. Make sure it all works with the automatic features of these newer trucks. If you got an older truck, maybe it doesn't have so much auto stuff, it'll be a little easier for you. But at the end of the day, with these things, is just trial and error. Plug and play, pull it out, plug it in, make sure you find one that works how you want it to work, and that should be all you got to do. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully I cleared up a little bit of stuff with these. I know when it comes to wiring, it can be a little bit crazy, a little bit confusing, and you don't really know what to do and what to plug into, but hopefully this helped you out a little bit. And again, let the fuses do what they do. If you're not 100% or you can't find it in a video like this one, just plug and play. You're not going to wreck your truck. Worst case, you'll blow a couple fuses. But just don't replace fuses with bigger ones, and you should be good to go. So hopefully this helped you out. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hopefully we catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.